Tamaham bhajami Yasya prabha prabhavado jagadantakoti Kotishva sesha vasudani vibhuti vina Tadbrahma nishkalamanandam sesha putra Govindamadi Purusha Tamaham bhajami Govindamadi Purusha Tamaham bhajami Maya hi yasya jagadanta satani shudne Traigunya tad vishaya veda vitaya manava Sattvavalamba parasattva vishuddha sattva Govindamadi Purusha Tamaham bhajami Govindamadi Purusha Tamaham bhajami Ananda chinmaya rasatmataya manashu Yatranidam pratiparam smaranamuketya Leelaitena bhuvanani jayantya jasha Govindamadi Purusha Tamaham bhajami Govindamadi Purusha Tamaham bhajami Golokanamni nijadam nitale chatasya Devi mahesha haridama shute shuteshu Te te prabhava nichaya vihitascha yena Govindamadi Purusha Tamaham bhajami Govindamadi Purusha Tamaham bhajami Shristi sthiti pralaya sadhana shakti-rekha Jayaiva tasya bhuvanani vivarti durga Ichchanurupamapi yasya cha cheshtate sa Govindamadi Purusha Tamaham bhajami Govindamadi Purusha Tamaham bhajami Chiram jatadara vikara niteshujohat Sanjayate nahi pratapta ashti neto Jashambhutam api tata samupaita karyat Govindamadi Purusha Tamaham bhajami Govindamadi Purusha Tamaham bhajami Devachareva hi dashantaram apyupetya Devayate vivita hetu samana dharma हि च विष्णुतया विभाति गोविन्दमादि पुरुषा तमहं भजामि गोविन्दमादि पुरुषा तमहं भजामि जकारणानवचले वचति स्म योगा निद्रामनन्द जगरन्द सरोमकूपा अद्धारशक्तिमवलम्ब्य परं समूर्ति गोविन्दमादि पुरुषा तमहं भजामि गोविन्दमादि पुरुषा तमहं भजामि तस्यैकनिश्वसितकालमतावलम्ब्या जीवन्ति लोमविलज जगरन्धनात्मा विष्णोर्महंस इह जश्च कलाभिषेक्तो गोविन्दमादि पुरुषा तमहं भजामि गोविन्दमादि पुरुषा तमहं भजामि वर्षं च तस्म सकलेश निजेश तेजा सूर्यं कियत्पकतयत्यपिता स्वरद्रा ब्रह्माय एष जगरन्दविदानपर्णा गोविन्दमादि पुरुषा तमहं भजामि गोविन्दमादि पुरुषा तमहं भजामि चत्वारबालवजुदं विनिदाय कुम्भा त्वन्दे प्रणाम समये सङ्गदातिराज्या भिन्नन्निहन्तमलमस्य जगत्त्रयस्य गोविन्दमादि पुरुषा तमहं भजामि गोविन्दमादि पुरुषा तमहं भजामि आग्नेर्मही गगनमम्बुमरुतिसश्चा कालस्तु तत्मनिशीति जगत्त्रयन्ति यस्मद्भवन्ति विभवन्ति विशन्ति च गोविन्दमादि पुरुषा तमहं भजामि गोविन्दमादि पुरुषा तमहं भजामि यच्चक्षुरेश सविता सकला ग्रहाणां राजसमस्तु सुरमूर्तिरशेष तेजा यज्ञया भ्रमति संवृतकालचक्रो गोविन्दमादि पुरुषा तमहं भजामि गोविन्दमादि पुरुषा Namaskayastapashri Brahmani Kita Patarabadayascha Jiva Jadhata Matra Vibhava Pakata Prabhava Govinda Mari Purusha Tamaham Bhajami Govinda Mari Purusha Tamaham Bhajami Yasvindra Gopamakaran Mahosakarma Bandharupam Parambajanam Attanoti Karmani Nirdanati Kinta Cha Bhakti Bhajan Govinda Mari Purusha Tamaham Bhajami Govinda Mari Purusha Tamaham Bhajami Yam Krodha Kama Sahaja Pranayani Viti Vatsalya Moha Guru Gaurava Sevya Bhavai Sanchintya Tasya Sati Shintanam Apurete Govinda Mani Purusha Tamaham Bhajami Govinda Mani Purusha Tamaham Bhajami
And Pradyumna is the son, is the elder of his wife. Samasitam Buddha Sundaram Kandharva Gopika Maniya Visesha Shobham Govinda Mani Purusha Maham Bhajami Govinda Mani Purusha
Vanagadam Vanaya Kelikalavivasvam Shaimam Pivangalavitam Niyasamakasvam Govindamadi Purusham Amaham Bhajami Govindamadi Purusham Amaham Bhajami Angani Jasya Sabalendriya Vrittimandi
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari 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 Gopi Jana Balabha Girivardhari Gopi Jana Balabha Girivardhari Found it? Jasodanandana Brajajanaranjana Jasodanandana Brajajanaranjana Jamuna Tiravana Chadi Jamuna Tiravana Chadi Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Hari Vedagacharya Astatara Satasi Srimad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda Ki Shri Brahma Samhita Ki Shri Radha Neela Madhava Ki Gaur Pimanandi. What's up? He changed it the other way yesterday because of feedback. You changed it this way. Let's see if there's feedback. Uh-oh. This is not getting electricity. It's not getting electricity. Okay. 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 We're okay? Yeah, just when you click, this is going to disappear and there's some text behind it.
Okay. Okay.
Okay? What happened? Battery issue. I'll tell you later. I'll tell you later. Okay. So this morning we'll finish this subsection. Govinda is the Lord of all lords, and then we'll head into the final set of verses, Govinda prayers. So far, we've discussed through verse 48. So, just a quick review, starting with text 43. The realms, or the abode, or the dham, where Govinda resides, in comparison, those lords or those personalities who are empowered by Govinda, they're identified. In the case of empowered for those who are living entities, anyway, because, in other words, in text number 46, these aren't exactly empowered. The Purusha avatars are not empowered. Those, the residents in Vaikuntha, they're not empowered. They're expansions of the personality of Godhead. So either case, empowered or expansions, plenary expansions or portions of, anyway, those who are expansions of Him are receiving their power from Him and their services unto Him. He's their Lord. Just like with text number 48, this is Mahavishnu's breath, a pretty powerful breath. There's a chapter towards the end, one of the final chapters of the 10th canto, is a description of Arjuna and Krishna going to the abode of Mahavishnu. in Arjuna, in Krishna's pretty special chariot, a chariot that can travel from the earthly realm where Dwarka, Krishna was performing his pastimes in Dwarka, and their chariot traveled through the universe, through the coverings of the universe, and that's an interesting description in the Bhagavatam, and then on the other side of the coverings of the universe, entering into the Brahma Jyoti region, dazzling brilliance, so much Arjuna had to close his eyes as they were heading for the abode of Mahavishnu. And mentioned in relation to Lord Shiva, that abode there is identified as Mahakalapur, or Mahakala, the great time, the time of creation and withdrawal of the creation by Mahavishnu. And when they come before Mahavishnu, he's very happy to see them. Actually, he was expecting to see them because he, Mahavishnu, was the one who was stealing, kidnapping the sons of a Brahmana in Dwarka, one by one, as soon as they were born. They didn't die, they just disappeared. And then disappeared and disappeared. And then this Brahmana began speaking bad things about King Ugrasena. What kind of king is he? And this so-called Krishna, he can't even protect a Brahmana. Can't even keep his sons safe. They just get kidnapped. Anyway, so Arjuna and Krishna knew that Mahavishnu had taken them. They were safe. He just wanted to see Krishna. And he was very happy to see Krishna. Then he returned the sons of the Brahmana, and the sons were taken back to the Brahmana. The Brahmana was very happy. Mahavishnu was very happy. But his mood, the reason for describing this from chapter toward the end of Canto 10, Mahavishnu's mood is he wants to serve. So he does this process of creation as an expansion of Govinda, as a service to Govinda. Although he's an expansion, the point is this, although he's an expansion, his mood is to serve. So that's the message here. Now we're going to be discussing the last four. Lord Brahma, who lives for the duration of one breath of Mahavishnu, one exhalation, one inhalation, because all of the other living entities within creation, they don't live as long as Lord Brahma lives. Like the Manus, they're next. The Manus, there's 14 of them in one day of Brahma. They're the next longest duration of life. And within each Manu, each time there's a new Manu, the new Manu establishes the directors, those who occupy the post of the Devas. Someone want to close that door and keep the heat in? So he sets up, so-and-so performs the service of Indra, so-and-so performs the service of Vayu, so-and-so, the principal demigods. He sets up his, just like, a new governor or president comes in, they set up their cabinet. The post is there and they put somebody in the post. So their lifetime is very long, but compared to Manu, and compared to Brahma, it's a blink. And Brahma's life is just one breath of Mahavishnu. Anyway, so we're going to hear about Lord Brahma, and then Ganesh, and then there are the lords of the cosmic elements, and Govinda is the lord of those lords, meaning the controlling personalities within the universe. Again, so like, it's a post that different persons fill during different times, but whoever fills that post, Govinda is the basis of their power, and that which they're having power over, the elements, he's the basis of all of that. And then the last is Surya Dev, and that's our morning session. So let us... Oh. There we go. Let us chant together text 49.
Vashvantadashma sakalesha nijesha teja Sriramkiyat pakatayatya pitadvaratra Brahmaya esha jagaranta vidana partra Govindavadi purusha Amam vajami Govindavadi purusha Amam vajami.
In the verse, just pointing out some of the terms within the Sanskrit, yata, when you see the word yata, it means it's a metaphor. As this, so this. So the sun, Bhasvan, is being compared to an Ashma Sakaleshu, precious stone. And we're going to hear in the translation the name of Surya Kanta. Earlier we heard about Chandra Kanta. These are gems that are worn by Lord Vishnu. You won't find them in a shop, in a jewelry store. But Surya Kanta is the one that's how Bhaktisiddhanta translates it. This Ashma Sakaleshu. And the understanding is that as that jewel, the Suryakanta jewel, stores light of the sun, it stores light of the sun. It's not just like, let's say, a diamond. When you hold it in the sun, it will sparkle. But you put it in a box, there's no sparkle until you put it in the sun or light, and then it reflects. So a Suryakanta, it stores. So you put it in a box and it's glowing. But the light of that Suryakanta is derived from the sun. So as the verse is saying, as the Suryakanta stores the light of the sun is storing the light, the energy of the Supreme Lord Govinda. It's not his own energy. He derives that energy from Govinda. Nice. Oops. What to do? Is there a problem with the oh, there we go. Okay. I adore the primeval Lord Govinda. Isn't that a nice painting? White cows and blue Govinda.
Looks like a snowman.
Yeah, it looks like Seattle. I adore the primeval Lord Govinda. the system isn't working. Help. From whom the separated subjective portion, Brahma, receives his power for the regulation of the mundane world. Help. Can you change the slide? Just as the sun manifests some portion of his own light in all the effulgent gems that bear the names Surya, Kanta, etc. So we see these images of Lord Brahma. He's honored as the creator of the universe, but actually he's not the creator of the universe. He's an engineer. Because what do engineers do? Well, they go to engineering school, and then they learn how the technology of this and that and the other thing can produce something useful. And you go get a job, somebody may hire you and they may fire you, but then you get a job with somebody will hire you and you do some engineering work. And you put this and that together to make a product that people will buy. So he, Brahma, gets power. Well, here specifically, he gets power to do the creation. He gets the intelligence how to do the creation. He's given the ingredients for creation. He's given the plan for creation. That's what all of that is what Lord Vishnu does, and then he just assembles it. Of course, you can say he just assembles it. Try to assemble a universe. Or try to assemble, Prabhupada would say, one mosquito. Just one mosquito who, flies around, and he can fly in any direction, up, down, forwards, backwards, and he can drink your blood, and he can make another mosquito. Make one mosquito. Go ahead. What to speak of all the other varieties of life, and this is what Brahma does. Like someone was saying yesterday, the complexity of the human body. Take the complexity of a mitochondria cell, or and what they've been doing with the artificial intelligence. How many brilliant people for decades have been trying to replicate human intelligence through whatever means that they have to do it. MIT and all the other places, billions of dollars and billions of hours and big brains. They can't do it. And so many things. The best of brains. Make one E. coli bacteria. One cell, a little guy that's got a little flagell on the back end, and make one. Anyway, it's a long story. Lord Brahma is very intelligent and very powerful. At the same time, where does he derive that power from? He's deriving that power from the personality of Godhead. And help. Am I doing something wrong? Huh? Did you do that, or did I do that?
From your side.
From my hand. Okay. So here's an image that indicates this Suryakanta gem, because the verse says or any such gems. Light of the sun is received, light of the sun is stored, and it glows. So, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, this little quote at the bottom, is taken from Madhurya Kadambini, a book that he wrote on the stages of bhakti, and the stage that deals with the removing of impurities of the heart by the process of bhakti. In that chapter 3, one of the necessities to remove impurities of the heart is to chant, and to chant without offense. And one of the offenses is considering the names of the demigods like Lord Shiva or Brahma to be equal to or independent of the name of Lord Vishnu. So in that little section, he quotes or cites that it's important to note that many Puranas propound the theory of Lord Vishnu and Lord Brahma being one. So somebody might get confused. The analogy of the sun and the precious gem Suryakanta Mani will help one to understand this oneness. Yes? Clear. And it's nice to appreciate Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur indirectly drawing, perhaps, from Brahma Samhita to make this statement. People get, so part of the problem, there's lots of problems, but part of the problem is something over here in some part of the Vedas that somebody just looks at that something over here without the big picture. And then they get, this is a truth. And they become invested in this truth without the big picture. And then that becomes their faith or their belief or their religion or their goal or their pursuit. And Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, those who have such disposition, in part because they want material happiness, and there is some way to get the material happiness through this means, that means. So Krishna gives them the faith to pursue that. Just like, the faith of a thief. If I steal, I'll become happy. And he becomes very convinced, if I can just rob a bank or whatever, then I'll be happy. So where does that faith that if I rob a bank come from? Well, the living entity has a desire, and Krishna makes the faith strong. So, and then the ability to steal, and the ability of the police officers to catch him. Where does ability come from? It comes from the same source. And so the sun is deriving its energy, its power, from Govinda. And the sun is very powerful. And Brahma is very powerful. We'll hear some more about Surya in just a bit. Here's, categories of Brahma as avatar. We discussed this before. But there's one personality, may be more than one category of avatar. That's the case with Brahma. He's a Shaktivesh avatar who bears the Lord's Shrishti Shakti, his creative potency. We heard about Durga, Shrishti, Sthiti, Pralaya Sadhana, Shakti Rekha. Same, Shrishti means creation. She's involved in creation in a different way. What does she do? She receives the glance of Mahavishnu that's carried by Shambhu. So she's a material cause. That is, she supplies the ingredients and she supplies the accommodating chamber. Those are causal factors. The causal factors are dependent upon an ultimate cause, a supreme cause. She derives the power to do the ingredient part and the chamber part from Govinda. And Brahma is another cause. He puts it all together. Shrishti Shakti. So he's an empowered incarnation, or Shakti Avesha, avatar. Here's a nice quote from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3. Shiradakshayi Vishnu, entering into the heart of Brahma, gave him the required intelligence, which is so powerful and extensive that he is almost independent of the control of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That's a Bhagavatam verse. So sometimes he's considered equal to, but he's not, because he derives his power from Shiradakshayi Vishnu, ultimately from Govinda. And a second kind of avatar, Guna avatar. He's in charge of the creative mode of nature. He does creation. So he gets the power to do the creation from Govinda. And then he presides over that potency. So anyone else that can create, go to the kitchen and cook. Or, go to your place of work and create a software program. Or, teach the Sunday school and create the curriculum. The potency for that is coming from Brahma, and that potency is coming from Govinda. He works through his devotees to do everything. He doesn't have to do anything. His devotees do things, but the power to do those things comes from him. Gotta find the right angle. Where is it? There we go. So here's some additional services of Lord Brahma. Let's see if it... There we go. He's the head of our sampradaya. So what does that mean for those that don't know the terminology? Lord Brahma directly receives knowledge from Krishna, and then he teaches that knowledge to Narada. Narada teaches it to Vyasa, and so forth and so on. And here today we're receiving knowledge, from Brahma Samhita, but in disciplic succession. What does it mean? We're hearing from our disciplic succession. So he is the head of our sampradaya. And according to Padma Purana, there's 4 principal sampradayas. Brahma is the head of one of them. And he, as we see from the painting, from his 4 mouths come the Vedas, because there are 4 Vedas. He manifests them. Of course, he also manifests the Gayatri mantra that we chant when we receive Gayatri mantra, at least one of them. And where does he receive that from? From Krishna directly, hearing Krishna's flute. At the end of his night, at the end of his day, he rests. And when he wakes up in the morning, he does his sadhana, and then the partial devastation that takes place during the night of Brahma, he recreates. Just like we get up in the morning and we brush our teeth and do our sadhana, and then we do some service. So his service is, he recreates half of the universe, because every night there's a partial devastation. And actually it's more than half of the universe. The lower 7 and the next 3 So 10 of the 14 planetary systems are destroyed every night. So and then he undergoes a similar process each morning as he does at the very beginning of his life. And that we discussed in the previous seminar, so I'm not going to repeat it now, so you can listen if you want. He has a long lifetime. There's a lot of zeros that come after 311 trillion 40 billion Earth years. And if you want to see how that calculation works out, there's a whole chapter in Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, called Calculation of Time by the Atom. It's fascinating. I won't review it, the chapter. But there's the breakdown of where that number comes from. And it starts, we'll just do this. The smallest unit is the time it takes for the sun to cross one atom. Because the sun moves. And when the sun moves across one atom, it's one something. And then 100 of those is another something, and 100 of those is another something. It just keeps multipliers out, and you end up with time, relative time, that's Lord Brahma's life. And it comes out to 311 trillion 40 billion years. And that's just one breath of Mahavishnu. Time is relative, because actually time is eternal. But in order to have creation, instead of the spiritual realm, the material realm, time energy has to accommodate. So it becomes shorter or longer depending upon the consciousness of the living entity. Time is a fascinating topic. He is the father of great personalities. We find that description in the 3rd canto, the 4 Kumaras, Lord Shiva, the great sages, Swayambhuva Manu and Shatarupa, the first Manu and his wife, and others come directly, even without any assistance from a wife. He just, from his body, he just desires something and boom. He's very powerful. Creative potency is very powerful. He has deep humility. This is a quote from Brihat Bhagavatamrita that says, during the coronation ceremony of Maharaja Prahlad, Lord Nrsingadev was there attending the ceremony. And Lord Nrsingadev approached Brahma and said, don't give any more benedictions like this. Because Brahma gave the benediction to Hiranyakashipu that he couldn't be killed this way, that way, he couldn't be killed this way, that way, this way, that way, this way, that way. And as a result, he was, except for the Supreme Personality of Godhead, no one can kill him. So the Supreme Personality came and killed him because he was such a horrible personality. So Lord Nrsingadev scolded him, don't do this again. And then in Brihat Bhagavatamrita, he says, in spite of this order, I have since given many benedictions to Ravana and many other demons. So he's very humble, as he also presents himself. So this is a quality, a characteristic. As exalted as Lord Brahma, he's very humble. It's part of his greatness, is that humility. So, another little section. Who is eligible to hold the post of Brahma? I don't know, it's supposed to be one by one. I don't know. I made that change. Maybe I didn't tell you. You didn't get a chance to do it. Okay. In the 11th canto, Srimad Bhagavatam, chapter 3, there's a commentary by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur that says he gives 3 personalities who become eligible to hold the post, because Brahma is a post. And then, like after this universe is over, everything is withdrawn, there's another universe. And then another Brahma takes the post. And then there's so many universes, and so there's so many Brahmas taking the post. So who occupies the post of Brahma? Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, here's one possibility. Very, 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 very exalted karmi. And that means, if one who's following Dharma, the laws of Dharma, for 100 lifetimes flawlessly, 100 lifetimes flawlessly carries out their prescribed duties, that person may be eligible to become Brahma. However, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says that person will have to come back into the material world after this lifetime. Oops. Getting confused here. What happened? There we go. Second possibility, there's somebody who is a very powerful Jnani. Powerful Jnani. And that person maybe achieve the post of Brahma. And if that person achieves the post of Brahma, after that, he may attain impersonal liberation. Help. Then there's another. Someone may be a devotee of the personality of Godhead, and he'll enter the personal abode of Krishna after his lifetime. And then there's another reference from the 3rd canto, chapter 32, that there is another situation, not so common, but a devotee who somehow gets the wrong idea that he's independently powerful. Not very good. Because who is independently powerful? Veda drishtya is the Sanskrit. So such a person may, they may not also, may achieve the Lord's abode at the time of cosmic annihilation. But when the creation begins again, he has to return and again take the post of Brahma. So, the puzzling is, I thought, I'm just anticipating the question, I thought once you go back to Godhead, you don't come back again. Well, here's an exception to that rule. And, in this exception, he again continues devotional service. According to the indication of the Supreme Lord, one can go anywhere. Heaven, hell, or the spiritual world. According to the indication of the personality of Godhead, one just wants service. So this may happen in this case with Lord Brahma. And then in Laghu Bhagavatamrita, this book has come up several times. I'll just repeat. It's by Rupa Goswami, and it's discussing the forms of the Lord that appear in this world. That's what the book is about. So specifically, Lord Brahma is in a category of avatar. So in certain cases, when there isn't an eligible person to take the post of Lord Brahma, there's one of the 4 above, they're not around. So Krishna comes himself and takes the post of Brahma. It's such an important post. He comes himself. But when he comes himself, he has a special mood. He's in his Braja mood. So, those are 5 different categories of persons who may achieve the post of Brahma. Of course, he receives Gayatri mantra through the sound of the flute of Krishna. Krishna is very powerful, Brahma is very powerful. We can't do that, but he can do that. And then he can transmit the mantra, and then in disciplic succession we can receive that mantra, and that way we're connected to Krishna's flute. And the transcendental message that Krishna is imparting through his flute. There's a description, sometimes it's very much appreciated in the 10th canto Bhagavatam, where Lord Brahma receives an invitation from Krishna to please come see me. I'm in Dwarka, please come see me, I want to see you. So Brahma is very happy, Krishna wants to see me. So he comes to see Krishna. When he comes to see Krishna, he has to deal with Krishna's secretary first. And the secretary says, well, please tell me who you are so I can inform Krishna and see if he's available. You know, one of those. So Brahma says, I'm Lord Brahma. Please tell Krishna has asked me to come, I've come. So the attendant goes to see Krishna, and Krishna says, please ask him which Lord Brahma. So the attendant comes back and says, Krishna wants to know which Lord Brahma. I say, what do you mean, which Lord Brahma? Is there more than one Brahma? You can tell him, this is the four-headed Chatur Mukha Brahma, the father of the four Kumaras, has come to see him. So, okay, I'll relay that message. And then the attendant comes back and says, okay, Krishna says you may come. So as the painting is showing, as he's coming before Krishna, our four-headed Lord Brahma is in that purple-colored chadar and so forth. As he's approaching Krishna, he sees so many other Lord Brahmas. And they're not just looking like him, because according to this description, our universe is small compared to other universes that are big and bigger and bigger. So the Lord Brahma has more heads. Some have 10 heads. Some have 100 heads, and the number keeps going. Don't know exactly. Imagine being the artist and having to figure out how you're going to draw so many heads. What to speak of being, Supreme Lord, to design a body with so many heads. So as he approaches Krishna, he sees each of them bowing before Krishna, placing their so many helmets on the ground. And it's a big clatter of sound. But as he watches the scene, he can understand that they cannot see him. Only he can see them. And he's bewildered, like that other scene where there's so many Narayana forms were manifested instead of the cowherd boys. So he got a wow experience. Wow. Because Krishna doesn't like his devotees to be proud. And it's really easy. Imagine if you had the power that Lord Brahma has, how easy it would be to be proud. We don't have hardly anything, and we're proud of hardly anything. We may not be strutting around going, look at me. But, there may be a softer version of look at me. Or at least how we look at ourselves with pride. So Krishna doesn't like pride in the heart of his devotee. So Krishna was removing even, the tendency for pride from the heart of Lord Brahma. Very wonderful pastime. And in addition to there being different Brahmas in different universes, there are different rasas of each of the different Brahmas. Meaning, just like, here's two examples. In our Brahma Samhita, there's this Lord Brahma has a relationship with Krishna in Madhurya Rasa. He understands, through the chanting of his mantra, that his eternal relationship with Krishna, not the creator Brahma, but the spiritual body in a spiritual form, his spiritual identity, is a maid servant of Krishna. So, conjugal rasa. But in the second canto, chapter 9, that Lord Brahma is described there when he comes before Krishna. He's in the friendly rasa, Sakya rasa, indicated by when he comes before Lord Vishnu, he stands and extends his hand. Nice to see you. Where you been? Come on in. Friendship. Sakya rasa. So as there's different Brahmas, there's different universes, and then those universes are withdrawn and more universes withdrawn. The cycle of time keeps moving. Smaller cycles, medium ones, bigger ones. Time is cyclical, the Vedic conception. So there's different rasas also. Different Brahmas, different universes, different rasas. So it's a post that's being occupied. And this is our last slide. This very nice painting of Lord Brahma meditating on the personality of Godhead and rendering service to him in many wonderful ways. So now we're ready for the next verse, text number 50.
Chattarvajudam vinidaya kumbha Vande pranama samaye sangadam hirajya Vignan vihandam anamasya jagatrayasya Govindamadi purusha Tamaham bhajami Govindamadi purusha Tamaham bhajami.
Let's look at the Sanskrit for a bit. Pada Pallava. Pada means feet, and Pallava means lotus feet. And the Yugam, the two lotus feet of the Supreme Lord, are held on his Kumbha Dvandave. An elephant has these two nodes on the top of their head. So the English term that Bhaktisiddhanta uses is tumuli. Those are those little tumuli. And it's said that that the power that Ganesh has, we'll see pictures of Ganesh, the power that Ganesh has is derived from holding the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord upon his two tumuli. And we're going to hear further that that form of Govinda that he worships, that Ganesh worships, is Lord Nrsingadev. So it's the power of Lord Nrsingadev that gives the power to Ganesh. And the power of Ganesh is removing obstacles. Commonly, it went well, universally, when in the Karma Kanda rituals, in the mantras that are involved in the performance of a ritual for getting some material benediction from some demigod, always, invariably, a mantra for Ganesh is uttered, which request Ganesh to remove obstacles for the achievement of the yajna, the sacrifice. So where does Ganesh receive the power to remove the obstacles? From Lord Nrsingadev, or ultimately from Govinda. And so in our Krishna consciousness process, where we worship Govinda, or excuse me, we worship Nrsingadev, because he removes obstacles on the path of achieving love of God. Those of you that are familiar with Nectar of Devotion, you know there's 64 items that we're supposed to do in the process of seva, or service. One of those 64 items is worshipping Ganesh. So devotees asked Prabhupada, why is it that you didn't teach us this item when it's in Rupa Goswami's teachings? And his reply was, if you worship Ganesh and your heart is still filled with material desire, then you'll worship Ganesh and he'll help you fulfill your material desire. And the fulfillment of material desire is going to be an obstacle in the path of devotional service. So I haven't taught it. But instead, we worship Lord Nrsingadev, because he removes obstacles on the path of achieving pure devotional service. Even after having said that, there's this famous story within ISKCON that one devotee got really fired up about worshipping Ganesh. And he said, you know, he wrote to Prabhupada saying, is it okay? I'd like to worship Ganesh. And Prabhupada wasn't encouraging it. He said, well, Prabhupada said, it's very difficult. He said, well, second letter, well, I don't mind the difficulty. I'm just kind of like very inspired to do this. Can you give me the instructions how to do it? He already said no, but can you give me the instructions how to do it? And then Prabhupada wrote back, well, I told you it's very difficult. And for starters, you have to give $10,000 dakshin every month to the spiritual master. I don't think that's in scripture. I think Prabhupada just wanted to discourage this devotee that wouldn't take no for an answer. If that's a requirement, then the answer is no. But in one of the biographies of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Chaitanya Mangala, at the very beginning of the prayers that come at the beginning, the Mangala Charana prayers, there's a prayer to Lord Ganesh, just as is in the teachings of Rupa Goswami. So if you're a very advanced devotee, you can worship Ganesh, but not for achieving something, material benediction, or the obstacles in achieving whatever you want, wealth or health or fame or something. Get elected to become the president. Good luck. Or whatever one may aspire for. We found out during the first presidential election of Obama that he always keeps in his pocket a murti of Hanuman. Did you ever hear that? He's kind of an eclectic personality, but you know, it's like a good luck charm for him or something. A Hanuman little thing that he puts in his hand, and he's talking about all kinds of things. So one who knows, one may have some aspiration to become a political figure and worship Ganesh, to remove the obstacles to achieve my political ambition. So we worship Lord Nrsingadev instead. And it's Lord Nrsingadev, this reference is Kumbha Dvandve. He holds upon his tumalai the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord. The verse is specifically indicating Govinda, but expansion of Govinda is Lord Nrsingadev. So we'll go on. I adore the primeval Lord Govinda, whose lotus feet, you see them up in the upper right-hand corner, whose lotus feet are always held by Ganesh upon the pair of tumalai protruding from his elephant head, in order to obtain power for his function of destroying all obstacles on the path of progress of the three worlds. There's Govinda's lotus feet, and there's Ganesh holding the lotus feet upon his head. It's a nice way to hold the lotus feet. Different than the whole body, he's just holding the lotus feet. Of course, that's, what do you call it? Photoshop? Anyway. There he is, Ganesh, and we'll hear a little bit about some of the special features. You see his protruding belly. You see the sweets in his left hand, or one of his forearms, which has something to do with his protruding belly. You can see that one of his tusks is broken, and you can see obviously that he doesn't have a human head, he has an elephant head. There's some different names of Ganesh. One is Vinayaka, which literally means the leader of the misguided. And that is because Ganesh is one of the two sons, we heard previously, there are two sons of Lord Shiva, or Lord Shiva and Durga, and Ganesh and Kartikeya. So Ganesh is a commander of some of the followers of Lord Shiva, who are bhutas, that's like ghosts. He leads the ghosts. So, that's his position. He serves his father that way. In the Padma Purana, there's a description of how he received an elephant head. He wasn't born like that. But one time, the description in Padma Purana is, he entered, Parvati was getting dressed, or having bathed and was getting dressed, and she asked her son, don't let anybody enter till I complete dressing myself. So he stood at the door, and Lord Shiva wanted to come, and he didn't let Lord Shiva come in. Lord Shiva didn't think this was very good, and he said, you have the intelligence of an animal, like an elephant. He chopped off his head and gave an elephant head. Don't stand in Lord Shiva's way. And I don't recall, but I'm sure there's somebody in the room that will recall.
Vishnu goes to the north and he finds the first animal that comes his way, and that's an elephant. He chops off the elephant's head, and Lord Shiva places the head on the head of the boy and breathes the new life into comes.
Okay. Did you hear that? I don't know if I can repeat it correctly. Give her the microphone. This is the Ramayan version of how is it that Ganesh has an elephant head. Go ahead.
After Lord Shiva chops off the head of the little boy, Parvati is very sad and upset, and she creates Mahakalis and all that, and it's a huge destruction, and all the lords and demigods pray to Lord Shiva to stop it, and the only way Parvati could be appeased is if Lord Ganesha is alive, and so Lord Shiva asks Mahavishnu and Brahma to walk in the northern direction, and the first animal that comes their way, Lord Shiva would chop off his head, and the first animal that stops by is an elephant, and Vishnu chops off the head of the elephant and brings back that head and places it, and Parvati makes sure that he is protected, and Lord Shiva says that he would be...
Does anybody in the room, because I've inquired and I forget the answer, why there's a broken tusk? You know that one too?
The
Go
broken
ahead.
tusk is...
Shipuranic Leela here. Go ahead.
Vedavyas, when he writes, when he scribes the Mahabharata, he asks Lord Ganesha to do it for him.
Well, that's another service. Okay. Here's he destroys obstacles. Here's Srila Prabhupada's language taken directly from Nectar of Devotion. Ganapati, another name of Ganesh, worships the lotus feet of Lord Nrsingadev. Upon his Tumalai he holds. And in that way has become auspicious for devotees in clearing out all impediments. And then another an important piece of information about Ganesh is he's one of the 5 deities worshipped in the Panchopasana process. I'll describe that. Just in case you want to become an impersonalist, I don't think anybody in the room would want to, but if they wanted to, you go to Sringeri Math in South India, was the place where Shankaracharya had his headquarters. And Shankaracharya taught, if you have this kind of softness and sentimentalism, and you're not like, staunch, intelligent, you're kind of one of these mushy people, you can do some worship, but there's 5 varieties, and really you're worshiping the impersonal, but you can worship these 5. That's the Pancha means 5, and Upasana means worship. So 5 deities in the impersonal process that's meant to take one to beyond form to the formless. That's their program. And you see the list of 5. They think, impersonalists think, Vishnu worship is for that purpose. It's for the sentimentalists that just can't get it together to be, strong, intelligent, detached. They need this other thing, so you worship this thing to get reality. And once you get reality, you throw the deity away. It's literally, I've seen photographs of, they have a procession. Someone becomes God. And they take the deity and throw the deity in the ocean. Big festival. I became God. And Guru too. Throw away Guru, throw away God, throw away everything, because you're God now. You may use something to get, it's a means to a greater end. It's really impersonal. So even when you're with the deity and you're with Guru and you're with the scripture, you're not with them. It's just, the comparison is used like a ladder may be used to attain some height, but once you've attained the height, you can throw the ladder away. You don't need a ladder anymore. So literally, just throw it away. Don't be attached. Throw away Guru. Throw away the deity. Throw away the scriptures. Just chant Om, and you can read Vedanta Sutra, that's okay. It can help you remain strong in your detachment. So that's another category of the worshippers. And worshipped by the impersonalists, and according to Chaitanya Charitamrita, quote, you see, those who are in the mode of mixed goodness with the mode of ignorance. Interesting combination. That such persons worship Ganesh. And those of you from India, you know, in certain parts of India especially, Bombay is really big for Ganesh worship. Because what do people want? Money. So they go to worship Ganesh to get money. I bet Ganesh will become popular in China someday. Another name, Adi Raja, Gana, Adi Raja, it means a leader. Raja is king and Adi Raja the leader. He's a leader of Lord Shiva's followers, or his Gana. And here's an example from Leela, story time, from Srimad Bhagavatam. The story of Usha and Aniruddha. Who is Aniruddha? Grandson of Krishna. Very good. Who was the father of Aniruddha? Pradyumna. And who is the mother and father of Pradyumna? Krishna and Rukmini. Rukmini? Okay, we're getting somewhere. So if you remember, this from the very first day we had this nice picture of yantra and the lotus flower with Krishna and Radha in the middle, and the petals, the abodes of the gopis, and that white quadrangular region outside called Svetadweep. And each of those 4 little protrusions out there had the names of Vasudeva, Pradyumna, Sankarshan, and Aniruddha. Remember that? Well, we just heard of 2 of them. Pradyumna appeared as the son of Krishna in Dwarka, and one of Pradyumna's sons was Aniruddha. So he's one of the Chaturvyuha, or the 4 direct expansions of the Supreme Lord. So he's the Supreme Lord, but appearing as the grandson of Krishna. So, in another city, another king who was an asura means a demon, his name was Bana. And Banasura was a great devotee of Lord Shiva. And he pleased Lord Shiva so much, Lord Shiva asked him, would you like a benediction? He said, yes. I'd like 1,000 arms so that I can play music for you with my 1,000 arms and you can dance. Could you like to dance? So Lord Shiva gave him 1,000 arms, and he would play the drums, and Lord Shiva would dance, and he was a special devotee of Lord Shiva. But later, Bana complained, I have these 1,000 arms, and I can't find anybody, a suitable opponent, except you. Like, let's fight or something. And Bana and Lord Shiva said, you're so proud. You will meet your destruction at the hands of one greater than me. So, Banasura had a daughter, and her name was Usha. And Usha, when she grew up and became mature, you know what happens when girls get mature, commonly, not always, but they start thinking of boys. So she started thinking of, in her dreams, she was seeing this beautiful personality and some conjugal relations started developing between her and this person in her dreams. And it was happening every night. And one night she called out, "Oh, my beloved!" And she woke everybody up because she wasn't alone, she was with other people. And she had a very good friend who heard her call out in the middle of the night. So the next morning, her friend, Chitralekha, she was kind of like a mystic person. Chitralekha said, "Tell me what your dream is about, because you've been having these sleepless, intense dreams. Well, you're my dear friend, I can confide." And she confided everything. Her heart has gone to this person in her dreams. So Chitralekha had, one of her powers was she was very good at art. So she heard the description from Usha of that person that was appearing in her dream, and she made paintings and drawings. And she didn't get it right, and didn't get it right, and didn't get it right. Finally she got it right. And Usha was saying, "Whoa, whoa, whoa." That's him. So Chitralekha had another mystic power. She knew who it was. She said, "Oh, that's Aniruddha, and he's over in Dwarka. Would you like to meet him?" Yeah, I'd like to meet him. So Chitralekha had another mystic power. She could travel at will. She went to the place where Aniruddha was resting at night and brought him back right into Usha's room. And it was love at first sight. She loved him, he loved her, and they started carrying on, just like they were doing in the dreams, only it was like real time. And the friends of Usha started to notice there are symptoms of her body that she's doing things. So she's having some conjugal relation with a man. So they went and told her father, Banasura. He was enraged. So Banasura came to the inner chamber where men aren't allowed, by the way, in Vedic culture. There's men on the outside of residential quarters, so women are the inside and protected, and men don't go inside. And he went into a room, and there was Usha and Aniruddha sitting together. And he became so angry. And a battle ensued, and soldiers came, and Aniruddha, he's very powerful. He's incarnation or expansion of the Supreme Lord. But by arrangement of providence, Aniruddha was captured and put in jail. Banasura's jail. Message, for a long time, Aniruddha was missing. Where's Aniruddha? Where's Aniruddha? And the message came that Aniruddha is in Banasura's jail. Whoa! The whole Yadu army came with Balaram and Krishna leading the army to free Aniruddha. So, big battle ensued. Look at this battle. And in the picture you can see, you can see lots of things. There's Balaram with his club. There's, over on the right side, there's Ganesh with his 4 arms, broken tusk, big belly. But he was a powerful warrior. And up top, riding the chariot, is Banasura with his 1,000 arms and so many bows. And demigods are in the sky watching this enormous battle going on. You see over on the left-hand side, there's Lord Shiva. He's yawning. Here's what the Bhagavatam says about this. Lord Shiva, wielder of the trident, shot various weapons at Lord Krishna. They were fighting each other. Wielder of the Sharnga, that's the name of Krishna's bow. But Lord Krishna was not in the least perplexed. He neutralized all these weapons with appropriate counterweapons. Lord Krishna counteracted a Brahmastra with another Brahmastra, a wind weapon with a mountain weapon, a fire weapon with a rain weapon, and Lord Shiva's personal Pashupatastra weapon. And then Krishna neutralized it with his own weapon, Narayana Astra. And then Krishna wanted to do something else, so he fired a yawn weapon. So he could strike down the whole army of Banasura with his sword, club, and arrows. Finally, Krishna then, with his Sudarshan Chakra, severed all the arms of Banasura, his 10,000 arms, except for 2. And he was ready to destroy him. And Lord Shiva came before Krishna and pleaded on behalf of Banasura. He's a very dear disciple. Please don't kill him. And Krishna was very pleased and said, very well, he doesn't need to be killed, and he can just become your nice assistant, your servant. But this pride thing can't continue. So Ganesh was involved in that battle. He was the leader of the Bhutas, or the associates of Lord Shiva, because Lord Shiva, when Banasura got in this battle with the Yadu dynasty, Lord Shiva came, not to leave his devotee alone. He came, and he came with all of his people, his followers. So Ganesh and Kartikeya were there. This Pashupatastra is mentioned directly in our Bhagavad Gita purport. After fighting and defeating Lord Shiva in the dress of a hunter, Arjuna pleased the Lord and received a reward with a weapon called Pashupatastra. Pashupatastra, what is it? It's a nearly invincible weapon used by Lord Shiva at the time of universal devastation. So he gave a copy of it, an expansion of it, like somebody was asking yesterday, what does expansion actually mean? So there's this illustration of Ganapati. So now we're ready for the last 2. And I think we can go pretty quickly with these last 2. Govinda is the basis of the cosmic elements. It's kind of connected with Krishna. Govinda is the basis of everything, but they're lords. The connection is they're lords of these elements, and Govinda is the basis of those who have control over the elements. So let us chant this verse together.
Govindamari Purusha Tamaham Bhajami Govindamari Purusha Tamaham Bhajami.
We'll do this again. The upper the language of the verse. And the upper part of the verse is described, it's listing elements, And in the third line, Yasmad means from whom, Bhavanti Vibhavanti Vishanti. Bhavanti means they originate, Vibhavanti means they're maintained, Vishanti means they enter into. It's Govinda who is the source. Of course, we've described the elements. They're within this pradhan and the glands of Mahavishnu and all those things. But the background of it all is Govinda. So that's the purpose of this verse. The translation by Bhakti Siddhanta. There we go. The three worlds are composed of the 9 elements. We'll come back and what's the 9? It's another system. Take a look at it. The 9 elements, namely Shri Radha Nila Madhava Ki Jai. Namely, fire, earth, ether, water, air, direction, time, soul, and mind. Now, soul is there, which is not a material element, so in any case, the system of 9. I adore the primeval Lord, Govinda, and so do a lot of other people. From whom they originate, that's the elements, in whom they exist, and into whom they enter at the time of universal cataclysm. So here's elements mentioned, and there's the basis and of origin, maintenance, and destruction of them all. From Bhagavad Gita, chapter 14, Modes of Nature, chapter 14, it states that Mahad Brahman I impregnate, making possible the births of all living beings. You're familiar with that, those of you that have studied Bhagavad Gita. This Mahad Brahma, the great elements, or the pradhan. This Mahad Brahma I impregnate, making possible the birth of all living beings. He's the source of the living entities. So the elements come into being, and the living entities, who are the ones who are impregnated into the field of the material energy, that source is Krishna. So now, just quickly, here's there are different systems. Well, question, which one of these systems is the system? Answer, they're all the system. There's just different ways of looking at the same thing. Yeah, for example, here there's 9. In Bhagavad Gita, it lists 8. Here's the 8. Earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, false ego. That's 8. Chapter 7, Bhagavad Gita. So there's 8. And then in the Sankhya system, we find 24. In fact, it's in Srimad Bhagavatam, and it's also in chapter 13, Bhagavad Gita. Earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, false ego. Then the list increases. 5 knowledge-acquiring senses, 5 working senses, 5 objects of the senses, which makes 23. And then this 24, which different Sanskrit terms, chittam or cheta, and it means different things. Sometimes contaminated consciousness, sometimes attention, and so forth. So there's a system of 24. Which one's right? Well, they're both right, just different ways of looking at and describing the same thing. We find in that same list of 24, almost the same list, in chapter 13, Krishna lists them, and instead of Cheta, it's Avyakta, and that's the unmanifested modes of nature. So the lists slightly vary, and that's okay. In the Bhagavatam, it also says an additional 25th item is time, and Prabhupada writes, some learned philosophers say that the super soul makes 26. So, just as in this verse, the 9 includes the soul, which isn't matter, so the bottom list is 26, which includes super soul. So matter and spirit combination. From Bhagavad Gita, chapter 9, Prabhava pralayakstanam nidhanam bijam avyayam. I am the creation and the annihilation, the basis of everything, the resting place and the eternal seed. Similar to what this Brahma Samhita verse is saying. And in the 10th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, I am the super soul, O Arjuna, seated in the hearts of all living entities. I am the beginning, the middle, and the end of all beings. Again, similar to what this Brahma Samhita verse is saying. Beyond the material elements. Here's a statement by Srila Prabhupada. Speculative philosophers may attempt to explain existence this way and that, but they will be unable to conclude that anything whatsoever exists beyond these 9 fundamental elements. He's speaking about this particular verse of Brahma Samhita, which all originate in the person of Govinda, of whom mundane speculators have no knowledge. It is Govinda whom they actually are describing with incomplete understanding, and it is Govinda's illusory potency that covers their intelligence. So there's a painting of the super soul, again with the electrons zooming around in their different orbitals, and inside the atom is the supreme controller of all atoms. Okay, so now we're ready for the final verse for this morning. We can chant together.
Yashaksharesha savita sakala brahmana Rajasavastu suramotirasesha teja Yashyagya brahmati sambritakala chakra Govindamani purusha Amaham bhajami Govindamani purusha Amaham bhajami.
I've highlighted two phrases from the verse. Savita indicates the sun, so the verse is about the sun, and the Brahmati Sambrita Kala Chakra indicates the sun is moving in its orbit, performing his journey on the wheel of time, Kala Chakra. So we're going to be discussing this Kala Chakra, the wheel of time. The sun's, like I mentioned from Srimad Bhagavatam, the sun's moving, crossing one atom is the smallest unit of time. And time keeps moving, moving, moving. And the sun's movement marks time. day and night, and months, and seasons, and years, and lifetimes, and the lifetime of Brahma, the lifetime of the universe. It's all connected to the movement of the sun. And the sun is deriving its power from the personality of Godhead. Here's the translation. The sun, who is the king of all the planets, full of infinite effulgence, the image of the good soul, is as the eye of this world. I adore the primeval Lord Govinda, in pursuance of whose order the sun performs his journey, mounting the wheel of time. This last phrase here is, the sun who is the king of planets, full of infinite effulgence, the image of the good soul, is as the eye of this world. There's an illustration of Surya, who is being drawn on a chariot pulled by many horses, and it's on this orbit, or the wheel that he moves on. Looks like we have the translation twice. I adore the primeval Lord Govinda, in pursuance of whose order the sun performs his journey, mounting the wheel of time. So there's this nice image of the sun, and a little astronomy, Vedic astronomy discussion, real short, because it can be really long. Prior to our friend Copernicus, cultures of the world, not just Vedic. Have you been to Beijing? Okay, I have. And one of the times I visited Beijing, it was the first time, the devotees were really enthusiastic to take me out sightseeing. I said, no. Oh, please come see the sights in Beijing. No. They were so insistent I went. And then, on the way they were deciding where they were going to take me. And when we got to a particular place, they decided this is it. It's the Temple of Heaven. There's a huge park. You have a big park here in Seattle. In New York, there's another big one, Central Park. This park in Beijing is huge. And one side is the palace of the Ming Dynasty on one side of the street. And it's, massive buildings and structures and land and, palace. And over across the street is this park called the Temple of Heaven. You have to pay to go in. And the place was swarming with people. It was like a Tuesday afternoon at, 2 o'clock. It wasn't even like lunch hour. There's so many people in China. It's just unbelievable. I'm from New York. And there was so many people. It was like rush hour. And it wasn't rush hour. It was 2 o'clock in the afternoon in a park. And you have to pay to go in. The place was zillions of people. And the first place we went to, so there's 3 mounds, kind of like little hillocks. And you walk and walk and walk, and you come to one of them. You go up, and there's the Temple of Heaven. And it's demigod worship. There's 3 buildings up on top, in kind of like a patio or like an open space. And then the main building is in a U shape. There's the throne of Indra, and then there's the throne of the sun god, the throne of the moon god, the throne of the wind god, the throne of the fire god. It's demigod worship. Then over there's like the history of the Ming Dynasty, and then over here there's the Upadevatas. It's demigod existing in China. Hey, the Vedic culture was in China. heralded by this long dynasty of Ming Dynasty. Okay, so we go down and go to the next one. Walk some distance over a creek, over a bridge, and then another little hillock. Have you been there, Krishna Kirtan? If you want to add anything as when I'm done with this, please do so. Up the steps into the next one. The next one is Chinese cosmology. It's the same as Vedic cosmology. And in Chinese cosmology and Vedic cosmology, it's geocentric. Geocentric means earth-centered. Things are moving around the earth. And the calculations are, just to keep it short, they're different mathematical formulas, and you plug in the numbers and you get it. Because it's, whether you describe, here's the earth, and that is the point of observation, and things are moving around the earth, and then as planets are moving around the sun, they're also moving around the earth, and they make these helix formations as they move around the earth, and you can calculate based on where the sun is, where the planets are. It's called, and you get astronomy, you get astrology, and you can calculate, the influence of the planets upon a living being, get their astrological chart. You can do it heliocentric or geocentric. So, before our friend Copernicus, everyone in the world, from the influence of Vedic culture, had a earth-centered or geocentric model. Copernicus came along and said, no, everything's moving around the sun. And, it was revolutionary. But, he was apparently a powerful guy. And the whole scientific world moved in that direction. They wanted to, whatever the dynamics were, trash the old stuff and bring in the new stuff. So, sun-centered. Earth-centered became sun-centered. And then he gave numbers of the distance between the earth and the sun. He was only off by a factor of 100 or so. And then, but that was with use of his telescope. And then, as time passed, they got better telescopes. And now that they have these Hubble telescopes, they mount on spacecraft, send them around, zoom, 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 take pictures, send the pictures back to Earth, and the scientists analyze, the pictures, and they're getting much closer to the Vedic number of the distance between the Earth and the Sun. So, question. Without technology, how does Vedic astronomy get the numbers that they have? Answer, descending knowledge. In fact, the descending knowledge is perfect knowledge, although it's dealing with matter. It's perfect knowledge in relation to matter, and the imperfect knowledge is using imperfect senses. And even, extending the senses by use of technology, it's still imperfect. If they had perfect technology, it'd be an identical match with descending knowledge. So, the world followed Copernicus, where the sun is at the center, and the planets are moving around the sun. But within the Srimad Bhagavatam, the detail is there, mentioned in this verse, that's why I'm getting into it. It describes, in what sounds like really dumb, childlike language, saying, the sun is moving on an orbit around the earth, around Sumeru, that's that upside down cone. The top is bigger than than the bottom. Have you ever seen a mountain like that? No. But that's Mount Sumeru in the Vedic literature. And as an axle on the top of Mount Sumeru is extended horizontally out around this Bhumandala, there's a wheel that's a certain radius or diameter above, the radius at the wheel end is the same as the height of Mount Sumeru. And if there's an axle stretching between Sumeru, the mountain, and the wheel, there's a certain height above Bhumandala, and that's the height at which the sun moves. And the sun moves in a counterclockwise direction around Sumeru. That's what the Bhagavatam says. And see the next picture. Here's another image of it. There's Mount Meru or Sumeru. There's the wheel. And in the language of the Bhagavatam, there's this Manasotra mountain. And then there's the sun. So, sounds really primitive. However, just like some appreciation of Vedic cosmology, it's exactly what happens. What happens is the Earth planet, how the Vedic wisdom got it was descending knowledge, and how modern astronomers get it is through their Hubble telescopes. But the Earth is tilted on an axis. It's not straight up and down. It's 23.5 degrees, they say. And and then the Earth is spinning on that axis. And as the Earth spins on its axis, within 24 hours, we get day and night. So in relation to the sun, the Earth is moving by spinning, day and night. But in relation to the Earth, the sun is moving. How is that? In the northern hemisphere, in the northern hemisphere, it's getting colder. We've all noticed it's getting colder. And we've also noticed that the daylight hours are getting less. And it goes down and down. So the sun is moving in a southerly direction towards the bottom of its orbit around the sun, which takes place 1 year. And in January 14th, it's from the northern hemisphere, it's where the days are shortest and nights are longest. Called the winter solstice. I don't know what it's called in Chinese. It's called Makara Sankranti in Sanskrit. And Makara Sankranti marks the day when the sun starts moving in the northerly direction. In Bhagavad Gita, it says, when the sun is moving in the northerly direction and the soul leaves the body at that time, it's an auspicious time to attain transcendence. And then the sun moves in a northerly direction, and it passes the equator, where day and night are equal. And it's called the equinox. And then it keeps going in a northerly direction until it's sometime in the month of June for the northern hemisphere, and then it's the summer solstice. And then it continues its journey in a southerly direction, southerly in relation to the Earth. So that's relative motion. Here's how it's described: relative motion with the Earth-centered or geocentric model of cosmology. There's this plane, the plane of the Earth and our solar system, the planets in our solar system. There's a vertical dimension of the universe. There's the higher planets, and there's the lower planets, and there's the middle planets. And our solar system is in the middle planet region. And if you map out, the big numbers of how the dimension of the universe, because they give these numbers in the Bhagavatam, our universe diameter is such and such. And then you can map out the movement of our planets in our solar system And it's relatively in the same plane. Some a little higher, some a little lower, but largely in the same plane. So that's the Bhumandala plane. And the sun moves in relation to the earth that much above Bhumandala, that plane of our planetary systems. And it's moving in a counterclockwise direction, specifically. So you're the observer seeing the earth, and the sun is moving in a counterclockwise direction. Counterclockwise direction. But the earth, in relation to the sun, is moving in a clockwise direction. The sun, in relation to the earth, within 24 hours, is moving in a clockwise direction. Clockwise and counterclockwise at the same time. One within 24 hours, the other within 365 days. Pretty sophisticated. How do they know all those things? Descending knowledge. And is it accurate? It's more than accurate. It's precise. And again, through technology, they're getting closer to being right. So whether the model is earth-centered or sun-centered, it's a matter of equations. The equations can calculate, both can calculate correctly. Just different equation, you plug in the numbers and you get the calculation. Anyway, so that's just a little appreciation of Srimad Bhagavatam based on what this verse says, that the sun is moving in its orbit. The sun is moving, not stationary. The sun is moving in its orbit around the earth. And it is. Now, the main message of the verse is this one. The sun exhibits its infinite effulgence due only to the power invested in him by Govinda. We see from the verse of below, the splendor of the sun which dissipates the darkness of this whole world comes from me, and the splendor of the moon and the splendor of fire also from me, Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita. There is this message about distinction between the sun god and the demigods. Here is Srila Prabhupada writing in the 5th canto, one of our more... If you think Sri Brahma Samhita is complicated, it's nothing compared to the 5th canto. So anyway, here is a quote from the 5th canto. It is also significant that the predominating deities of even the greatest planets have been offering their exalted posts because of the very valuable pious activities they performed in previous births. This is indicated herein by the word karma, nimitta, nirmita, gataya. For example, as we have previously discussed, the moon is called jiva, which means that he is a living entity like us. But because of his pious activities, he has been appointed to his post as the moon god. Similarly, all the demigods are living entities who have been appointed to the various posts as the masters of the moon, the earth, Venus, and so on, because of their great service and pious activities. Only the predominating deity of the sun, Surya Narayana, is an incarnation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Very interesting. So there are persons in India, there's probably persons in other cultures of the world too, they worship the sun. Now, one of the reasons they worship the sun is the sun gives life. If the sun went out, life is over. Not only you get cold, life is over. So, life-giving sun is worshipped. And some may see the sun as the supreme. You know, if you're an atheist, there's not like there's a supreme personality of Godhead above everyone and everything, like Brahma Samhita is telling us. If you have that idea, well, the sun is supreme. Where our life, our existence depends on the sun, so they worship the sun. Sun worshippers. And in Vedic culture, the sun is often worshipped for health and also for prosperity. Here's another reference about Surya Narayan to help us appreciate. This is within the chapter summary of Canto 3, Chapter 22. The sun god, who controls the affairs of the entire universe, especially in regard to heat, light, seasonal changes, and so on, is considered an expansion of Narayana. He represents the Vedas, and therefore he is known as Trayi Maya, the form of Lord Narayana. Sometimes the sun god is also called Surya Narayana. The sun god controls the 6 seasonal changes. Of course, that's in India. Here we have 4. And causes winter, summer, rain, and so on. Yogis and karmis, following the Varnashram institution, who practice hatha or Ashtanga yoga, or who perform Agnihotra sacrifices, worship Surya Narayan for their own benefit. The demigod, Surya, is always in touch with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Narayana. Interesting. So the sun god amongst demigods is special. In Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, we find this quote. The sun god is an expansion of Lord Aniruddha. A little before, we heard about Aniruddha. The demigod Surya, who is categorized as a very powerful jiva, or living entity, is a representation of one of the parts of his body. So that apparently Surya, the demigod Surya, may be a jiva that's empowered. A Shaktivesh avatar, in other words. Surya Narayan may be in the Vishnu Tattva, Surya Narayan may be a jiva empowered, and either way it acts the same. Although the worship of the sun god is recommended in this mantra, 4th canto mantra, he is worshipped not as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but as his powerful representative. This is Viraraghava Acharya's commentary on this verse you see quoted. So we can take it that Surya, and this sometimes called Surya Narayana, is a Shaktivesh avatar, at least according to Viraraghava Acharya. Now here are some of the services that Surya does. Obviously, light and heat throughout the universe. In Tamal Krishna Maharaja's manuscript, he elaborately discusses, it's not, what Prabhupada says over and over again, which is that there's one sun in the universe, not there's a solar system with many suns. That caused a number of people a problem, because Prabhupada is very emphatic about it in his 5th canto. He maintains the planets by manipulating rainfall. Manipulating rainfall, of course, that's Indra's department, but Indra can't do what he does without Surya, without the sun shining. If the sun went out, there's no rainfall, because evaporation of water requires the sun. Like fire, the sun god also sterilizes all unclean things, especially dirty things within the mind. So worship of the sun god is helpful in that way. Of course, if we just worship Krishna, it takes care of that. He's the supreme pure. He marks the path of liberation, which is called Adi Vartma. I mentioned it already. It's presented briefly in Bhagavad Gita. It's more elaborately discussed in the Bhagavatam. The path of light. Vartma means path. Archi means light. The path of light. That the soul achieving liberation follows the path of light. Then there's something missing that's not in this one, that's in mine. Oh no, okay. Krishna spoke the Bhagavad Gita to the sun god Vivaswan, so he was as Brahma was directly receiving the Vedic knowledge from Krishna, so was the sun god, Surya. So he's very special. And out of all of these services that's rendered by him, the sun god, the Gayatri mantra, one of the Gayatri mantras, is the first of our Gayatri mantras, the one that people are not supposed to sing out loud, they do, that one. It's called the Brahma Gayatri, and it's taken directly from the Rig Veda, so it's like it's a very exalted mantra within the Vedas, Brahma Gayatri. But specifically, some people think it's worship of the sun god, as for material things. Some think it's the impersonalists think it's for the purpose of worshipping the impersonal Brahman as part of their Panchupashana process. And for us, we're worshipping Surya Narayana, who we understand to be, according to Viraraghava Acharya, in any case, the Shaktivesh avatar. Or if the alternative is there, he's an expansion directly of Narayana and Vishnu Tattva. But in any case, we're worshippers. When we chant Brahma Gayatri, we're worshipping the Supreme Lord. Otherwise we wouldn't have interest in it. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, of lights I am the sun. In Srimad Bhagavatam, 10th canto, there's a very famous story about Satrajit, pictured here with his back to us, worshipping the sun. In between is Dwarka. He didn't live in Dwarka, he lived near Dwarka, and he wasn't a worshipper of Krishna, although he was so close to Dwarka he could see it. He was worshipping the sun god. Because why do people worship other than Krishna? According to Bhagavad Gita, they worship other than Krishna commonly because they want something. And the demigods supply that something, and it works, and so they continue to worship the sun god. So every day, for hours, he would offer prayers to the sun god and very valuable items to the sun god in worship of the sun god. And so the sun god appeared before him, very pleased. You're my ardent devotee. I'm going to offer you a benediction that no one in this world, this mortal world, has seen. He gave him what Satrajit is holding in his hand, a gem, Shamantaka, gem, that by worshipping it, two things: money, 70 pounds of gold every day. That's a lot of gold. I mean, just thinking of suitcase. The maximum weight for a suitcase in America is 50 pounds. And that's heavy. 70 pounds of gold every day. Every day and every day. So he was really happy. And also, no disease and no irregularities of weather. He was so happy. Thank you, Suryadev. Thank you, Suryadev. But actually, it wasn't a benediction. It was the cause of his death. Because, here we go, the fruits of one's piety plus a heart that's impure equals pride. So he was proud. And he put this jewel on a necklace and went prancing into Dwarka, check me out. And just completely ignored Krishna when Krishna came and asked for the jewel for the king. I want the 70 pounds of gold every day. Anyway, it's a whole story. A worshipper of the sun, God, is Satrajit. And there's another nice example. Do you recognize this one? When the Pandavas, I'll say, I got the microphone. When the Pandavas were in exile, they had people still visiting them. They were living in the forest. How can they take care of guests visiting them? So Yudhishthira approached Domya and what to do. We don't want to offend our guests. We said, you worship the sun god, and he'll make an arrangement for you. So Yudhishthira did that, and the sun god appeared and gave him this magic pot, Akshaya Patra, magic pot. And Surya explained, give it to your wife Draupadi, and she can make her preparations within this pot, and it will produce unlimited volumes of until she eats. And once she eats, then the pot won't produce any more for that day. So it was a good arrangement from the sun god. Here's another example. Kunti Devi. By her satisfying Durvasa Muni came to the royal palace. Everyone was, oh, here comes Durvasa Muni, look out. But Kunti wasn't at all disturbed. She just served him nicely, and so nicely, she was happy to serve him. So he was very pleased and said, she's just a young girl, not married. And he said, I'll give you the benediction. Here's a mantra, and you recite this mantra, insert some name of whoever you like, including even a demigod, and they'll come. Just by this mantra, they'll come, and they'll produce a child for you. See you later, Kunti. She's a young girl, and her mind was getting curious about this mantra. So she tried it out, and she put the sun god's name in the mantra, and there's the sun god. Oh no! And the sun god said, well, I'm here, and the mantra is for this particular purpose. And she said, but I'm not married. And how can we have a child if I'm not married? He said, don't worry. Your virginity will be preserved, and the pregnancy will take place like pronto, like zip. And the child was born from her ear. So his name was Karna, because Karna means ear. It's a whole nice Mahabharata story. She did, what am I going to do? I got this child, and I'm not married, but I've got a child. What am I going to do? So she went to the forest and left the child in the forest. And some people in the forest found the child, this beautiful child. He had armor. like a Kshatriya on his little baby body. Wow. So they took care of him. But he was then, Karna was understood as a Shudra because he was brought up by the parents that were Shudras. Shudra means like common laborer type, not a royal family type. Anyway, so sun god appears involved with Kunti. Here it's said she placed the child in this box, but another version is in a forest. And there is Karna, her son. And Karna was a very important personality in the Mahabharata as a friend of Duryodhana. And Krishna arranged for the destruction of Karna, as you see. And last but not least, we're almost done. Who's this? Srimati Radharani. And Srimati Radharani was a regular worshipper of the sun. And there's a long history behind Radharani's worshipping the sun, and Krishna's coming to perform the Surya Puja in the disguise of a Brahmana doing the Brahminical service. So this is some understanding about Surya Dev. And that's the last of this section. Shri Brahma Samhita ki jai. It's 9:25. Any comments or questions? Very enthusiastic. You had your hand up almost before I asked. Microphone over here. I challenge you. Say your sentence without saying first.
Okay. So.
Okay.
You said,
there's okay.
You said that there were other Brahmas in like every universe has Brahma. So in the other universes, did the other Brahmas, did they say the Brahma Samhita before they created their universe?
It doesn't have any information about that. I have no idea. No idea. Anyone else? Right here.
Guru Maharaj, yesterday somebody made a comment or question and you categorically refused that you don't know about four-headed Brahma or 8 or 16 and likewise. But today in a slide, one of the slides, we saw Brahmas having so many multiple heads.
Maybe I didn't understand the question.
Okay. Now...
Huh?
That's true.
The question wasn't clear. At least I didn't maybe the question was clear, but I didn't understand it.
Okay, so my understanding is okay. One other thing, this geocentric or sun-centric.
Yes.
I don't see any advantage or disadvantage between modern versus the Vedic, because point A to B, the distance remains the same. I mean, however it spins counterclockwise or clockwise.
Well, yes, what you're saying is true. What's important is, are the numbers correct? However, making calculations from the point of observation that's geocentric or earth-centered, it's very practical. You know, once I was at Stanford University, and a student got into one of those college modes where it's got to be one or the other. Which one is it? And I said, Einstein's relative motion, so you go ask Einstein. It depends on your point of observation, your perspective. He didn't like it. He went, no, it's got to be one or the other. But it's relative motion. From the point of observation it's this, or from that point of observation it's that, and both can be right. So your comment was particular advantage from the point of observation. It makes sense. But either way is okay. Someone? You have something?
So continuing on this question, so if you are not geocentric or if you are not sun-centric, let's say if you are standing away, in that case you can see that everything is rotating around everything. Is that how we can conclude?
Yeah. Just as far as, put the microphone down, just as far as, give it to her. Okay, your daughter will help you. Just as the heliocentric says everything moves around the sun, at least from Sariputta Prabhu's explanation, I haven't gone beyond this, but the movement of the other planets moving around the sun as the sun is moving around the earth makes those rings around Sumeru or Jambudvip. So it's not denying planets are moving around the sun. It's acknowledging that planets move around the sun. But the description and, the math, the equations are geocentric. What's the position of Mars? Sorry for the camera's sake. Here's the Earth, and now we'll put it in like this. Here's Bhumandala, and the sun is moving counterclockwise around the Earth. And as the Mars is moving around the sun, as the sun is moving around the Earth, it makes a helix. And do that 1,000,000 times, and you get a ring. You get a ring. And if you do it 3-dimensional, you get like an inner tube. But you make it 2-dimensional, and it's a ring. And there's an outer dimension of that ring, and the inner dimension of the ring. And the numbers are, apogee and perigee, the outer dimension of the Mars as it moves around the sun, and the inner dimension of Mars as it moves around the sun. And that's the math within the Bhagavatam model. So it doesn't deny, it just calculates differently. And the sun is moving. Because you can, certainly from our vantage point, you can see, have you been to Vrindavan? And when you went to Vrindavan, did you visit Dinabandhu's Vrindakund? Yes. So he'll almost invariably point over that direction, there's Nandagram. And in the winter, the sun rises way over here. And the summer, the sun rises way over there, that way being north and that way being south. The sun is moving north to south, and then back again to the north. The sun is moving in relation to the earth. That makes, in 1 year's time, it makes the seasons. What's your other question?
Maharaj, this is regarding yesterday's Balaram Lila Prabhu's question. The universes coming out from Mahavishnu. And today, when I saw that there are Brahmas with more than 4 heads, and there are universes, our universe is the smallest universe, and there are a lot of big universes.
Yeah.
Does it mean that all universes' lifetime is the same, or one universe lifetime is more?
I think someone asked that question. Maybe it was you. They begin at the same time, at the end at the same time.
All of them, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it was Balaram Leela's question.
Yeah, that's
yes. However big they are.
Okay.
Just like, some children are big and some children are short. Doesn't matter. A lifetime is a lifetime. If you're big, you'd not have a longer lifetime. Yeah.
Like, do we have a reference where it is written that Lord Ganesha worships Lord Nrsimhadev? Is there any scriptural references?
My attention was distracted by her very colorful socks. I wasn't paying attention. Her colorful gloves are different. She's following the Aditi Sampradaya. Aditi started a fad. It's a nice fad. Go ahead. I say it again.
Yeah. Do we have a scriptural reference where it says that Lord Nrsimhadev has worshipped, Ganesha has worshipped Lord Nrsimhadev? Do we have a scriptural reference?
I believe there is. I can't cite it. But I believe there is because Prabhupada wouldn't write it if there wasn't. And he writes it in the Nectar Devotion. But where that reference is, I don't know. I believe there is. Otherwise, Prabhupada would write it.
Thank you.
Okay. In the back?
So Maharaj, you mentioned the Bhumandala with all of these movements, the helix movements and so on. But then there are these upper planetary systems and the lower planetary systems.
Yes.
Are they also rotating around the
Yes.
Sumeru?
Well, for sure, they're moving. They're moving in a counterclockwise direction, respective to the pole star. That's the chandelier model of Vedic cosmology. I can't say something more than that.
So there is also this Saptarishi Mandala, which
Yes.
even modern scientists use
Yes.
as a reference when they navigate the seas.
Yes.
So are they static or are they also moving?
They're moving.
They are moving as well.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, at least, the pole star itself isn't, but the other stars are in it. This is my understanding. I could be wrong. I haven't carefully studied, but my understanding, on principle, one star is not moving and others are moving. All celestial bodies, they're circumambulating the personality of Godhead, who is presiding in the pole star. Okay?
And this one final question. Is this movement also similar for these other universes, or other universes can be different layout?
I don't know. I've not heard any description of that. One would assume if you're going to make a bunch of universes, you make them following a similar model, but that's an assumption. Krishna isn't bound by my assumptions.
So the third canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, and we are doing that as a part of our Bhakti Vaibhava study, it is mentioned that there is a template that is created. So first comes the template, and then comes the actual. This is how I understood it. I could be wrong.
Okay. I can't comment what other universes are structured like.
Thank you.
Maharaj, I had a question. So you were mentioning about Kunti having her sons through the sun god and all that.
Not sons, one.
Yeah, one son. So like when we read Bhagavatam, there are so many stories where the son of a king is generally the next king, and that's how the dynasty.
Correct.
So it looks like in Bhagavad Gita we say guna karma vibhagsha. So we mainly emphasis on guna and karma, but even like looking at Bhagavatam, it looks like there is some sort of a dynastical.
I understand your question. Give the microphone to her, please. I'm trying to recall the clear answer to this, and it's not coming to mind. Ultimately, things depend upon guna karma, not birth. However, birth does have its precedent. Now, this is where, in Vedic times, when people were more qualified than present times, but Vedic times, qualified sons of qualified fathers would be qualified. But there are examples where they're not qualified. And that's a problem. The anomaly is a problem. And Kali Yuga is, an ocean of anomaly. So, all the more the emphasis upon guna and karma as opposed to birth. So go back. In Vedic times, when when the inclination and the practice of following Vedic standards were followed, far more was the case where a qualified father would have a qualified son because he was following. And therefore the guna and karma of the son would be suitable to becoming the king. It's not a satisfactory answer. It's an incomplete answer, and I can't recall the complete one. There was a hand up over here first. Go ahead, over here.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. So today's lecture, Brahma is a position and Surya also is a position. So when we in Goloka, we will be, anybody who is there will be doing the service in their eternal position, or will there be a post?
In Goloka?
Yes, Maharaj.
You mean I'm not sure, let me find out what your question is. Are you asking, is Nanda Maharaj and Mother Yashoda a post? No.
They are also like one of the information I heard is we will be doing the service in our eternal position when we are in anybody in the Goloka. So in Goloka, will there be any posts, or it will be going to be?
You have a service.
Okay.
But it's your constitutional service. It's just waiting for you. It's not like somebody else has got the post and you show up and they got to vacate the post because there's only one guy to occupy the post. Or gal, if you're a gopi. There's just unlimited, not a post. It's a service, but not a post. Over here.
Maharaj, there are a few questions online. First one is from Veda, daughter of Leeleshwari Mataji. She asks, if we go to Vaikuntha, is there going to be an option to go to Goloka?
Yeah, there's a special security code you have to know. The answer to that, the best answer I can offer is Tamal Krishna Maharaj, I said this earlier, ask Prabhupada, is our position fixed, or can one move from one particular position to another position in the spiritual world? And Prabhupada's answer was, the spiritual world is not static, it's ecstatic. So the indication was indirect, but saying one can move from one position to another. And how does one attain anything? It depends on association. So like, take the example of Lakshmi, the goddess of fortune, wishing to get entrance into rasa dance. She wasn't allowed. But the not allowance was her thought, her self-conception that I am the goddess of fortune, the wife of Lord Narayan. However, through the association of the gopis, one could, she's in a different category. She's Shakti Tattva, but one can, by association, a living entity, by association, can become influenced by a particular mood. A very nice example of this is Ram Das Vipra, who was a Ram Bhakta like anything, and by Lord Chaitanya's association, not that Lord Chaitanya tried to persuade him at all from anything in relation to his devotion to Ram, but simply by Lord Chaitanya's association, he was, instead of always chanting Ram's name. He was always chanting Krishna's name when Lord Chaitanya came back to see him. And he asked him, what happened? He said, it's by your influence. That same tongue that was always not by practice chanting, but spontaneously chanting Ram's name, my tongue will only chant Krishna's name now. By association, one can, the static becomes ecstatic.
The next question, there are two questions that are related, so I'll put it in two parts. We as devotees, is it okay to worship the sun? And the second part is, why Radharani worships sun god?
The answer to the first one is it's not recommended for us to worship the sun, so we don't. However, by worshipping Krishna, it includes the worship of the sun. So it's already there. And the second one is, it's a lila. Why is she worshipping the sun? She's Krishna's internal potency, his pleasure potency. There's nothing for her other than Krishna. So it's lila. She's worshipping the sun. As Nanda and Yashoda, they were worshipping Narayana, not Krishna. And the girls, they were worshipping Katyayani to get Krishna as their husband. But the commentary says it wasn't the mundane goddess Katyayani, it was the original Katyayani, the internal potency to have Krishna as their son, or as their husband. So it's not ordinary. It's not ordinary. Not like somebody here worshipping the sun. Why is Radharani doing what an ordinary person would do? It's not like that.
The next question is from Dhanishta Mataji. When Lord Krishna or Lord Vishnu has to assume the post of Lord Brahma, is that manifestation of the universe any different?
Well, I don't know, other than what Rupa Goswami says in Laghu Bhagavatamrita, and what he says is, his mood is that of Braja. So Lord Brahma, being in the mood of the king of Braja, I would imagine the universe would be a little different. Just by his presence and his influence. No detail.
Next one is, Lord Hanuman is believed to be a beloved disciple of Surya Dev. How is Lord Hanuman placed? Do we worship Lord Hanuman?
Ask her.
Of course we should worship Lord Hanuman. He's a servant of Ram.
That wasn't the question. Should we worship Hanuman was the question? Should we worship the sun, as Hanuman worshipped the sun? That's the question.
No, do we worship Lord Hanuman is the question.
Well, she may, but we don't. We respect Hanuman. We don't worship Hanuman. We respect him as a great devotee. There he is on our altar. But the worship is going to Ram, and the prasad, the mercy of Ram, goes to Hanuman. We worship the Supreme Lord. That's our Vaishnava practice. Now, because of his intimacy of love to the Supreme Lord, we respect him, but not worship in the same way as we worship the Supreme Lord. Go ahead.
The last question is from Radha Duti Mataji. She asks, we see a lot of worshippers of Lord Vishnu and Lord Shiva, but none of Lord Brahma. Any particular reason for this, Maharaj?
Yes, there's a particular reason. And I can't remember it, but he was somewhat of those Puranic things that there was a curse that no one will worship you.
The same Prabhu would go to figure out who is the greatest of the three.
That's in the Bhagavatam.
And he says that since Brahma was very busy talking to Saraswati, he does not really take care of Bhrigu, and so he curses Brahma. And then he goes to Lord Shiva.
Okay. Brigu's curse. But there is a temple where Brahma is worshipped somewhere. That's okay, that's okay, that's okay. Yes. Lots of questions this morning. It's almost going to be afternoon by the time we're done.
I
Go
just
ahead.
had a little comment on Prabhuji's question about like dynasties.
About?
About like how there's guna and karma, but then there's dynasties also. It seems
Okay,
like
you have a comment, okay.
Yes. In the Bhagavatam, there's a story of King Vena.
Yes.
Where he's the oldest son of the previous king.
Yes.
But since he's not qualified, the Brahmanas have the authority to remove him, so
Yes.
and install a better king. So there's also examples.
But he became the king even he was unqualified. His guna and karma didn't match the post.
Yeah,
but he became king anyways because he was the son.
Yes.
And when he showed his real colors, he was like a wild man.
Yeah.
He was removed. Something on the ladies' side. Whoa, this is a busy morning. Go ahead, come on over to the ladies' side. Okay, go ahead. You can bring to the others, for the other microphone, so we'll save time. Go ahead.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
I have 2 comments.
Only.
And 1 question.
Okay.
The story that I said about Lord Ganesha was not from Ramayana. It's from Shiv Puran, Rudra Samhita, Parvat Kand. As far as I know, Ramayana does not mention the story of Lord Ganesha. It's Vishwamitra tells the story of Lord Kartikeya to Ram and Lakshman. And Padma Puran has a different understanding of the birth of Lord Ganesha and Kartikeya, but since the birth of Lord Kartikeya mentioned in Padma Puran does not match the story mentioned in Ramayana,
Yeah, they're different.
I do not like the story mentioned in Padma Puran because it's not equal to what's mentioned in Ramayana.
Okay.
And
Next.
the second comment is in Yuddhakand of Ramayana, sage Agastya gives the Aditya Hriday mantra to Ram just before his battle against Ravan,
Okay.
the final battle against Ravan. And he says that chanting this one, chanting the mantra thrice would win him the victory. And as soon as Ram hears it, he is all the more eager to fight Ravan. And in the next verse, he puts in the Brahmastra and kills Ravan. I just wanted to comment that. And
Of course, Ram doesn't need a mantra.
Of course,
Doesn't need anything to get enthused. But it's Leela.
It's just a play. He just wanted the
Give Agastya some service.
exactly. And my question is, Garud is a huge part of Krishna Leela as well as Ram Leela. Where does he reside in the realms, and how does...
He's in Vaikuntha. He's a Vaikuntha Vasi.
Okay. And how does he come to the different universes to play the variation of the Krishna Leela or Ram Leela?
His wings.
So he also has the ability to travel from one universe to another?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay.
He's empowered.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. My question is from yesterday's discussion, what we discussed yesterday, that there is sun and moon in Goloka. I was thinking a little bit further because I heard that in Bhagavad Gita, I think it said in one of the purport that Krishna's effulgence is more than millions of sun.
Yes.
So do the Golokvasi, do they see Krishna's effulgence or no?
According to Krishna's will, they may or may not. Generally, they do not. Although he's effulgent, generally they do not. For the sake of his Leelas. Yogamaya, she's orchestrating things for his pastimes. It would be interfering his pastimes if all they said is millions of suns, Jyoti. So, by Yogamaya potency, they don't.
Thank you, Maharaj.
It's very practical. Yes.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. I have 2 questions.
2.
The first one. So the example you gave us, some god gave a person 70-pound god every day. a gold
Yeah.
every day. So, so some God has total control of this event, or it's Krishna allows this to happen.
Yes. Krishna allowed it to happen because the sun god or a mosquito or you or me or anybody cannot do anything without the sanction of Krishna. And if Krishna takes away the sanction, then he can't do. The mosquito can't fly, the ant can't crawl, and we can't walk across the room. What to speak of 70 pounds of gold?
The second question is, where is the abode of some God?
The sun planet, that's where.
So,
like, you know.
Okay.
That's
so the sun is like his body.
Yes. Well, it's the sun planet is his residence. It's like his kingdom.
Okay.
He rules the kingdom. He's the presiding deity of his kingdom, and his kingdom is the sun. The whole place is his kingdom.
And he is in every universe.
Who? The sun?
Yeah, sun God.
Well, these every universe questions. I don't know about every universe. I'm only repeating things that I know from our authorities of scripture and our acharyas. So I don't know about other universes. I can't comment.
Okay, thank you.
Someone else? Yes? Back here. Raise your hand.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, I have two questions. One is about the planets, the ones that we know, the familiar ones, the Jupiter and Saturn, which also are mentioned in the astrological charts, Jyotish Shastra. So are they part of the Bhumandala?
Are they what?
Are they part of the, like when we talk about the 14 planetary systems?
Yeah.
Where do they fit in the Bhumandala?
No.
Or
below.
Below.
Bhumandala means in the vertical dimension of the universe towards the middle, like, the equator. And then there's above the equator and there's below the equator in the vertical dimension. So the lower planetary systems are below Bhumandala, and the upper planetary systems are above Bhumandala.
So all the Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, as we know, they are all...
More or less. I mean, again, I'm repeating what I understand from what Sariputta has explained. You've seen that video, The Mysteries of the Sacred Universe. So you look at, here's the sun's movement, and then some of the planets are slightly above, slightly below, but as far as the big vertical dimension of the diameter of the universe, they're more or less in the same plane. More or less in the same plane. That's the plane of Bhumandala. They move more or less in that same plane.
And one more question, Maharaj. That was about those Brahmas with multiple heads who came in the same assembly where the Brahma of our universe had gone. So do those Brahmas travel across universes? Because they are probably from their...
Oh, these are wonderful questions. I can answer most of them by saying I don't know. But Dwarka is a transcendental place. So Dwarka isn't confined by our material dimension of space and the material dimension of time. So I guess rather than saying I don't know, I could say I don't see any reason why not. Because it's just going to Dwarka. Like in this pastime, each Brahma that came did not see the other Brahmas. Only our Brahma was able to see them all. They thought They were only they were before Krishna. So that's pretty mystical. So what that seems to imply, so like, again, it's like this is speculative and I don't want to speculate, but it seems to imply Dwarka is a transcendental place. And so that Brahma can go to the Dwarka of their universe, and another Brahma can go to the Dwarka within their universe, and another Brahma can go to the Dwarka in their universe, and it's the same Dwarka. But they're not seeing the other Brahmas or the other universes. They're just seeing their Krishna in Dwarka in their universe. So in that case, they don't go to other universes. They just go to Dwarka in their universe. And Brahma was able to see it. Now, I don't have anything from our acharyas that says that, but the Dwarka is a transcendental place. It's not dependent upon matter and, worldly dimension of time and space. It's a transcendental place. So when you go to Dwarka, it's a transcendental place. And there in Dwarka is Krishna, transcendentally in Dwarka. And here come other Brahmas from other universes to Dwarka, which is a transcendental place. It's the same transcendental place. And he was able to see like that. That's my understanding. But no confirmation from our acharyas that I'm aware of. Okay, I think we've... Oh. Okay. Hang on. Go ahead.
So just one comment and one question. The comment is what you just said about Dwaraka. Similarly can be applied to the early question about Garuda.
About the which?
Garuda and the Vaikuntha.
Yeah.
Because the Kshirodaisak Vishnu resides in Shweta-dvipa. It's in this material world, but it's also Vaikuntha.
Sure.
So Garuda can also be in this world and also be Vaikuntha.
Well, but he's a Vaikuntha-vasi, and there's a Vaikuntha planet within our universe, but it doesn't mean that he's in this world. He's Vaikuntha-vasi. And he can move seamlessly between the Vaikuntha realm of Shweta-dvipa and here. Mm-hmm. We can't, but he can.
And even the demigods in this world actually can approach Shweta-dvipa.
They can go to the shore of the Milk Ocean. Yeah. They can't enter though.
Okay. My question is regarding Ganesh. So Brahma recited Brahma Samhita at the beginning of the creation of this universe. How come he's mentioned Ganesha? Because
how come he's mentioned
Ganapati? Because, like for example, here I mentioned of Shiva and Durga, but these are all have their like prototypes or their principles beyond this universe. They existed before the creation of this universe.
Good question.
But Ganapati seems to be much later in.
Yes, it does. But a person like Brahma, when becoming well acquainted with the ocean of truth, can know about things before they happen. And he's describing his post.
So is the post of Ganesha same as the other demigods, which is of the span of one Manu, or is it span of this one universe?
I don't know the answer to that question. Don't know.
There are a few questions from online.
And then we're going to end?
We have 4 questions actually.
Uh-oh.
One is a cryptic question. Who is Surya Narayanan?
Who is?
Who is Surya Narayanan?
And is that a full stop after that?
A question mark after that.
Okay. I can go back to the slide that says what it says. And what the slide says is, there are 2 different explanations. He is an expansion of Narayana, thus Surya Narayana. And another Viraraghava Acharya is saying he's a jiva that's empowered. So whether Vishnu Tattva or Jiva Tattva, in either case, he's an avatar in the sense of in this world from the spiritual world, whether an empowered jiva or a plenary expansion of Narayana himself.
The next question is about the utilitarian tendency of the impersonalists, and Radha Duli Devidasi is asking how to remove this utilitarian tendency within oneself.
Become a personalist. Recognize we're not just using Krishna, but we're serving Krishna.
The next question is, it's a comment. Words that fruit of piety plus impure heart equals to pride is a wonderful formula.
Okay.
And I think that's about it.
Okay. Thank you all very much. And it's 5 minutes after 10.
Prasadam is ready.
Prasadam is ready. What time do we come back? 45 minutes or 40 minutes? Quarter to 10, quarter to 11. See you back at, don't eat a big breakfast. Prabhupada ki jai.